Hi guys, and welcome to A Dog's Soul, an empath's guide to your dog's feelings. Have you ever wondered why dogs start to fight at fences and how we can fix it and how they feel about it? Today we're going to talk about fence fighting, a little case with a lot of emotions. Enjoy! Alright, so I guess a lot of you out there will have experienced fence fighting if you have a dog, a garden, and a fence, and a neighbor dog. And while some dogs are really chill about that topic and really ignore the neighbor or even like the neighbor, it's not the case always. Sometimes our dogs get into trouble at the fence, and this can really be a very challenging thing for us, especially in summertime, because we want to be outside, we want to enjoy our gardens with our dogs, and we don't want to watch them all day long to just prevent fence fighting, right? So it's even more important to get rid of it right away. But first, let's just introduce the case I want to talk about a little bit. It's about a bulldog, an English bulldog, and she's about 4 years old, living with her buddy in a house, and they have a neighbor dog. And the neighbor dog is some kind of big black mix. And this big black mix started the whole thing. So when they moved in, the first contact with this mix was her charging the fence like crazy, barking, trying to bite through the fence. And our bulldog girl didn't have any of it. She immediately reacted to that dog. She also charged the fence, and they started trying to bite each other through the fence. They were really serious about it. So they didn't just yell at each other loudly, which we can have, of course, very often. They really started going at it. And of course, the owner of the bulldog was very concerned because, let's be honest, I am living in a country where some breeds are stigmatized, and no, English bulldogs are not one of them, but not everybody can identify an English bulldog from, let's say, an American Stafford. And yes, they look very different, but for a non-dog owner, it can look like it's the same thing, or they think that English bulldogs are dangerous as well because they are also very strong and very muscular and have a very big head. Alright? So we want to prevent that as best as we can, of course, and so that's why the owner was really concerned about the whole situation, and also because she wanted to let her dogs out to pee and relax with her and play in their little doggy pool and all those things without always having to watch out if the other dog is out or have to call the owners to get the dog in or whatever. The other dog's owners were a little bit more casual about it. They didn't really want to start training or do anything about it. They were just in the opinion of their dog being friendly, and there is no need to do anything about it because she wouldn't bite anyway. In my opinion, it's a different story. But alright, we cannot change other people. We cannot tell them to start training. It has to come from them. So we have to deal with this dog. Now, first, I think it's important to introduce management. Make our lives as easy as possible. So if we have a fence and the dogs try to start fence fighting or are already fence fighting, there are a few things we can do to make our lives and training a lot easier. The first thing is to install some kind of visual block. So either some wooden planks It doesn't have to be over the whole fence, but just as high as the dogs go or as high as the dogs can reach, so they don't see each other and they cannot reach each other. Or there are some lighter options, like some kind of sheet or something, but of course they can get through that. So you always have to decide on what's best for your dog or what you need for your dog and how much safety it has to provide. All right? Another thing is a leash. Of course, this is where it gets a little bit annoying because you always have to leash the dog before going into your own garden. And this is something that takes a little bit of adjustment, and it's a change for us. So it's sometimes trickier to adjust to that than we think. But it helps a lot because it keeps the dog close to us. And for training, we need the dog close to us first because we have to catch him before he goes into a frenzy. The moment our dogs are already into a frenzy and they're already completely involved in their fighting kind of thing, or even if it's on leash and it's just yelling and barking and all those things, when they are completely immersed in that, it's really hard to stop it. And it's not where training can happen because, of course, with training, we want to completely get rid of the situation, get rid of the behavior, and we cannot do that when they're already fully in it. All right? So to catch our dogs before they are starting, a leash is really, it can come in really, really handy. And another thing that has to be checked before we start training or even during training, it can be parallel, but it should always be done, is get the dog checked out for health issues. Whenever we see any kind of unwanted behavior, this is something to keep in mind, always. It's not always the reason, but it's very often the reason, or at least something to increase what we see. And for our little bulldog, it was, on one hand, the obvious, the bulldog factor. So the short snout and the trouble breathing. The vet said she wasn't ready for surgery, or it wasn't bad enough for surgery. So we had to live with that during training. And of course, it changed our training because we had to watch out for the length of our sessions. It has to be shorter. We had to watch out for heat. We are in summer, so we cannot train all day long, or we at least have to have shadow. So for all the times we can't really train, we have to manage, right? But with fence fighting, it's like whenever we go outside, we have an opportunity to train. We just have to adjust it to fit the needs of our dog, and we have to tailor it to fit what the dog can actually do and what's comfortable for this dog. For our little bulldog, we saw to it that she always had her little doggy pool. It was a really small garden, so she always had the doggy pool right at where they did the training, and she could cool off whenever she wanted. And this is not like a completely concentrated training session all the time, because sometimes we just want to let our dogs out to pee. But the tricky moment was whenever they had to walk out the door. All right? So I skipped a little ahead there because we're actually not done with our health issues. She did have allergies too, and she was overweight. For the allergies, we saw that whenever the allergies were really intense, she got worse. with her fence fighting and also with her leash reactivity. She was also leash reactive. So what we did was, whenever she had her allergies acting up, her owner kept the garden time really short and also shortened the walks. And they did a bunch of other stuff with the vet to make things easier for her in her allergy seasons and all those things. So this all went parallel to the training. Now, the training, as I said, it was the most crucial point was when they stepped outside, because before that, she couldn't see if the other dog was out or not. So they always had their harness and their leash on, because it would be possible to just check if the other dog is out, and if not, leave the harness and the leash off. But it could also happen that when we are already outside, the neighbor's dog gets let out as well. And then we are kind of stuck, because we don't have our leash, we don't have our harness, and we had to be really quick to catch a dog before going at the fence. And this can happen very, very quickly. So just to be on the safe side and just to make it easier, we just agreed on leaving the leash and harness on every time they went outside in the garden. And the moment our little bulldog saw the other dog, she got her marker signal and a very, very yummy treat that flew in the opposite direction of the other dog. So away from the other dog. And this is something that sounds very easy, and the marker signal is introduced really quickly. If you want to know how to do that, just go to the description and get your free guide. It is really a superpower. We can use it for almost anything, and it makes our training way more precise, way more easy, and I kind of need it always, except for separation anxiety, but that's a completely different thing. All right, so she started doing that, and what happened was that on one hand, her emotional state changed. So when we started training, she was really very tense. Whenever she saw the other dog, she was already in action mode, and she could never relax outside. And after starting with the marker signal and really yummy treats, you could see her changing. You could see her emotional state changing from being tense and a little angry even, to getting excited in a positive way when she saw the other dog, because she knew whenever she sees that other dog, good things are happening. And for her not to charge the fence, because excitement can trigger the fence fighting thing again, even if it's good excitement, we started this movement of always rewarding her with a little more distance to the other dog. So that's why the treat always flew away from the other dog. And sometimes some dogs can't really run away from the other dog because they are just too concerned that the other dog might follow. And that's when we have to get distance in a much, much smaller way. And this can also be just turning the head a tiny little bit, still looking forward, but just a little bit of head turning, and get a foot in the door like this. And we could also start indoors. If outdoors is too tricky, we can start indoors and just throw our treats inside, and whenever the dog looks at the other dog, he gets another treat indoor. For her, this was not necessary. She could actually do this outside, even though the space was narrow, and that way we could at least start change her emotional state. In addition to that, we introduced a relaxation zone indoors. So this is just a spot where relaxation is happening every single time in the beginning, and so the dog's connected automatically. And then we took that outside as well. But for that to be an option, she had to be able to be outside without charging the fence and starting a fight, right? So during our look at her, run away, look at her, run away game, we only took the relaxation zone outside when the other dog wasn't in her garden. So the important thing is to always keep in mind what the dog can actually handle, what's actually possible, and what's the goal. Because the goal for her was that she can be outside and chill in the summer season with her human, even if it's all day long on the weekends. That's why we needed to introduce relaxation as well as training. If it was just not necessary that she is outside except for her toilet breaks, the relaxation zone would not be necessary. So it depends on what you want and what your dog can do, right? For her, it took a few weeks. It went really quickly because she was not that interested in fence fighting anyway, so it wasn't like this is a hobby of mine or I'm really angry at the other dog or anything like that. She was just doing it because she didn't see any other option, which is true for all aggression cases. But she could accept this new option we gave her really quickly because she was actually a very relaxed dog and eating was really important for her. Since she was overweight already, we had to calculate what she ate during training sessions carefully and of course subtract it from her usual meals. But there's really no reason not to work with food with this, right? If you have a dog who likes toys a lot more and there is no way to train with food, you can use toys as well or just walking away. But this is way more tricky. You can't get as many repetitions in with toys and with just distance. If your dog is already in the mood for distance, it works perfectly. If your dog is still in action mode toward the fence, it's really hard to use distance. So that's why a combo of food and distance is the most easy way to go. If that's possible, that's the way to choose for me, because I like things very easy. Alright, so this was our little case for fence fighting. If you want to have your case discussed on the show, send me an email and I will talk about ideas. Of course, if we're not working together, I can only offer ideas, but that's sometimes all it needs, right? And if you want to talk about your case live on the show, if you're very brave, it's not that scary actually, but so many people are scared of doing this. You can write me an email as well, and we can just set up an appointment and chat about your case. And of course, if you want to start training and you want to see if we're a good fit, go to the description, book a free call, and we just chat about what we could do together. I wish you an amazing time training with your dog. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments or via email, and enjoy summer together without fence fighting. Until next time, bye!